Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the All-American Savage Show podcast. I am your host, John Burke. It's good to have you with us here this morning. Unfortunately, my co-host Josh is on his way to California for some business, so I'm going to be alone on the podcast for the next couple of days, and I really don't know how to feel about that because, I don't know, I'm just used to having my beautiful bearded husband here with me to discuss these things, to have like a wall to bounce things back off of. So I guess today I'm doing it alone. So bear with me. I don't know how the hell I ever did this before by myself, but I'm missing me some Josh right now. Love you, Josh. Big ups to you, big man. Thank you for tuning in and joining us from wherever you're at across the nation or across the world, whether you're at home with your children, you're on your way to work, you're at work, you're deployed overseas, or you're currently testifying before Congress about how bad Facebook is, yet trying to secure power for Democrats on the left. So thank you for joining us here today. This episode is brought to you by ShellShockCBD.com. Again, ShellShockCBD.com, your premier veteran-owned brand of CBD and Delta-8 products that are high quality, affordable, and third-party tested with no foreign imports. So make sure you check us out at ShellShockCBD.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this. On this day in history, I love doing this. This is fun for me. I like doing these things. I like kind of referencing certain things as far as like what's going on in the history of the world. And on this day in history, the Reno brothers carry out first train robbery in U.S. history. On October 6, 1866, the brothers John and Simeon Reno staged the first train robbery in American history, making off with $13,000 from an Ohio-Mississippi Railroad train in Jackson County, Indiana. Of course, trains had been robbed before the Reno brothers' holdup, but the previous crimes had all been burglaries of stationary trains sitting in depots of freight yards. The Reno brothers contributed to criminal history was to stop a moving train in a sparsely populated region where they could carry out their crime without risking interference from law or curious bystanders. Though created in Indiana, the Reno brothers' new method of robbing trains quickly became very popular in the West. Many bandits who might otherwise have been robbing banks or stagecoaches discovered that the newly constructed transcontinental and regional railroads in the West made attractive targets. With the Western economy booming, trains often carried large amounts of cash and precious minerals. The wide open spaces of the West also provided train robbers with plenty of isolated areas ideal for stopping trains, as well as plenty of wide spaces where they could hide from the law. Some criminal gangs like Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch found that robbing trains was so easy and lucrative that for a time they made it their criminal specialty. The railroad owners, however, were not able to sit back and let Cassidy or any other bandit freely pillage their trains. To their dismay, would-be train robbers increasingly found that the cash and precious metals on trains were well protected and massive safes watched by other heavily armed guards. Some railroads, such as the Union Pacific, even began adding special boxcars designed to carry guards and their horses. In the event of an attempted robbery, these men could not only protect the train's valuables, but could also quickly mount on their horses and chase down the fleeing bandits, hopefully putting a permanent end to their careers. As a result, by the late 19th century, train robbery was becoming an increasingly difficult and dangerous profession. This day in history, it was the first organized, train robbery. That's kind of badass. I'm not going to lie, growing up, we saw all the, I grew up watching Westerns and things such as that. So the stagecoach robberies, the train robberies, things like that. Yeah, I remember that kind of stuff. And then if you haven't seen Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, you should. Like, you really should. Oh, is that an ad playing? Okay, I'm gonna have to fix that music. Sorry about that, guy. Yeah, that was supposed to be like a historical kind of background music. I screwed that up. And again, this is why we're never gonna be on Fox. It's the worst audio thing in history. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm working with what I've got here, folks. Like, Jesus. It's great. So, Kanchin says, who the fuck cares about train talk about buses and sub scam and clipper? How about you shut the fuck up and let me do my show? Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna deal with you. Just gonna ban you. Bye. You're out of here. Like, don't come on my fucking stream. Don't come on my show and, like, start barking orders at me because I don't know who the fuck you think you are. You're certainly not me, and I have a bigger dick. So that's just the way it goes. We're starting the morning out good. We're starting the morning good. Here we go. Big thank you to everybody sharing the stream out there. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. So if you haven't been tracking the Facebook, and I use this term loosely, whistleblower. Whistleblower. If you watch the testimony, I watched part of the testimony yesterday. This is just one of those things that initially people were all on board of this. It's like, okay, we got a whistleblower on Facebook. This woman's coming forward talking about all these bad things happening behind the scenes, that Facebook is choosing all these things. As I listened to her testimony, it sounded to me like she was a disgruntled employee that was just not happy with the choices Facebook was making in regards to putting profits over people. Now, To me, this whole thing is a big nothing burger because I feel like she's saying things that we already know clearly about Facebook. Now, ultimately, this was essentially a ploy, I think, from the Democratic left to try and secure more power by saying that we want to regulate and censor Facebook even more so, as well as Instagram. For those that don't know, Facebook is an owner of Instagram and things such as that. So to me, it felt like this was like one of those like, oh, we have issues, there's problems here, and what we need to fix these problems is more censorship. And it's mind-boggling. So if you go listen to the interview, and it's about like 3 hours long, and you give it like, you look at it from the outside looking in, and you listen to this woman, you can clearly tell she is actually more for a fascist tactic to supposedly fix these whistleblower things. A lot of celebrities are coming out talking about this, talking about, Facebook shouldn't have been allowed to buy Instagram. They're getting too big. They need to be broken up, things such as that. And if you look back in the 80s, I think they did the same thing to AT&T. They had grown way too powerful and things such as that. So it's just one of these things that it was like a wolf in sheep's clothing. People were like, it was like almost like a fake Project Veritas. It's like, oh, she's coming out. She's going to pull the trigger on this. We're going to get more information. And come to find out, she highlighted some issues. But ultimately, she was like, and the way to fix these issues is that we just crack down harder on what people post. And then Facebook should be regulated. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like close. So close. So fucking close. And so I don't know. So the article comes, Greenwald says, Facebook whistleblower is being embraced by liberals intent on controlling political discourse. Now, this is also being echoed by other prominent figures on the left, such as Don Lemon. Now, we're going to get into this because I fucking hate Don Lemon with a passion. The sooner this guy dies, the happier I'll be. I'm not ashamed to admit this. I'm going to stop holding back. I think these people are disgusting, vile human beings that are anti-liberty. They're anti-freedom, and therefore they're American in name only, and I have no part with them. I don't give two fucks about them. I'm going to stop pretending here. Because the other part of it is, and I didn't really want to get into it too much, but I figure I might as well. These people, these liberals, or not even just liberals, these pro-vaccine mandates, these anti-liberty types, when did we become comfortable being friends with them? Now, there's a difference. There's a clear, stark difference there in regards to who you want to be friends with. I can be tolerant of somebody else's political beliefs that are contrary to mine, as long as it doesn't infringe on the rights of other people. That's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line on this. Why would I ever be friends? Why would I ever be tolerant? And I'm asking you to listen to this with an open mind, ladies and gentlemen. Would you be friends or tolerant of somebody that is an open Nazi, racist, whatever the case? Would you be friends with a person like that is in favor of having your rights infringed upon? And if you would be friends with somebody like that, my question to you is why? Why would you want to befriend somebody like that? It's a serious question that we should ask ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because we've come to a point now when there are very prominent figures on the left calling for not only the censorship, for us to face consequences. Don Lemon is one of them. Don Lemon is one of them. You want to talk about fascism. You want to talk about authoritarian movements. We didn't really see this too much when Trump was in office because Trump had control. But now the Democrats have the holy trifecta. We're seeing it even more so now. And I'm going to get into what Don Lemon has to say because I want to talk about this. I want to give this exposure. I want to see this more mainstream in the news because this is basically painting the face of what the Democratic left has turned into right now. And this is a growing threat. It is a growing threat, ladies and gentlemen, because you think right now it's not a big deal. I had an article forwarded to me of an interview about there's a bill. I'll have to look it up. I posted it in my Instagram stories. You can go look at it there. They're considering trying to push forward a bill that basically says that you cannot use airports, private or public, if you're not vaccinated. Meaning that the government is now wanting to intervene in private market, which they've already done so much of. And you can honestly see why it's screwed up so many things from academia to healthcare. Now we're seeing it in the hospital zones regarding COVID. And this is just one of these things that every time the government sticks their fingers in something, they fuck it up. And now you have Democrats backing it even more so, which is just, it's mind-boggling to me. Democrats do not make any secret of their intent to co-opt Silicon Valley power, Greenwald wrote. So essentially, what Democrats are doing right now, and we'll get into this article, but I want to preface it with this. This Facebook whistleblower came out, and Democrats are sitting there cheering her on, going, oh, yes, she's right. But the way to fix this is that we need more power. We need more power to regulate and control. We should be able to tell you what you should be allowed to do as a private business. Now, look, I don't like Facebook. I still use it for business. I still use Instagram for business. I won't lie about that. My businesses revolve around this. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes right now. Now, there are other platforms to utilize. And I think that it's failed massively because there was like this explosion of many different platforms. You had MeWe, Getter, Parler, all these various different platforms, and nobody knew where really to go to. And then essentially it just became an echo chamber for the right. And that's why it's been kind of an issue here. But I think the longer we go, the more we progress with the social media cracking down the way it is, it's going to have to go one of two directions. Facebook's either have to going to back off a little bit, or they risk literally losing an entire political movement going off to a different platform. Because I think it's going to get to the point where if you identify as conservative or independent leans right, they will boot you from the platform. I think it's coming. I sincerely feel it's coming. And Democrats are only pushing it, and this article right here shows you why. Journalist Glenn Greenwald feels that Facebook whistleblower is a tool to halt content which offends the sensibilities and beliefs of Democratic Party leaders and their liberal followers. In a Substack entry headline, Democrats and media do not want to weaken Facebook, just commandeer its power to censor. Greenwald wrote whistleblower Frances Haugen is being embraced by the left because she helps advance the quest for more control over online political discourse. Democrats do not make any secret of their intent to co-opt Silicon Valley power to police, political discourse and silence their enemies, Greenwald wrote. And this has been proven, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube has proven this by saying that if you discuss anything regarding COVID that does not fall in line with the mainstream narrative, your video will be banned, you will be blocked, you will lose your account. We've seen this on Facebook. We've seen the fact-checking. The fact-checking, I use that term very vaguely, and you come to find out that who is sponsoring. Go look this up. You can go look this up for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Who is financially backing the fact-checkers? Come to find out, Bill Gates. Go look it up. Go look up the fact-checking organization and the funding. I challenge you. They are controlling the media. They are controlling the narrative via social media. Social media has become the modern-day contemporary agora, where everybody gathers to share information, to do all of these things. And now they have complete control over it. They've had control over it for a very long time. They're only about, I don't know how far along in the process they are, but they're on the verge of censoring anyone that essentially goes against them. I've seen it myself. I had my main account pulled down. You can't post anything that is contrary to the mainstream media COVID narrative right now. You can't even question it. And the fact, and I've said before in other shows, that when you essentially are silencing people that are questioning a movement or anything like that, and you want to just instantly shut them down, that sends up red flags to me, because if the science speaks for itself, then let the science speak for itself. Don't silence dissenters. Let the dissenters make their voices heard, and then you leave it to the people to make free choice of what they want to do with their bodies. Democrats do not make any secret of their intent to co-opt Silicon Valley power to police political discourse and silencing their enemies. Haugen is just their latest tool to exploit the scheme to use the power of social media giants to control political discourse in accordance with their own views and interests. Haugen, a former civic project manager for Facebook's misinformation team, who leaked internal corporate documents to the Wall Street Journal for a series of damning reports against the social media giant, told lawmakers Tuesday that she believes her former employer is a national security issue. Haugen also asserted that Facebook has not only known its platform causes harm to U.S. security interests, and to the well-being of minors using the platform, but that site relies on negative interactions to drive engagement. Okay, there's a lot to break down here. There's really a lot to break down here. I think many of you are probably not going to like what I'm going to say on this one, because I actually disagree with her on Facebook causing harm to people. And here's the reason why. Do I think, I had a conversation last night, a very interesting conversation last night, about how women via social media are under intense scrutiny, number one, of their bodies. You see that there is these unrealistic beauty standards and expectations that is only promoted through these social media influencers with millions of followers, that essentially you have to be certain sizes, you have to look a certain way, that we've veered so much away from being authentic, from being real, of showing what an actual real woman looks like, versus these figures out there that have underwent like numerous thousands of dollars worth of surgery. And it creates for many women out there these false realities and makes them feel bad about themselves. Now, do I think that exists? Yes, I do. 100%. I've seen it in my own world in regards to fitness, to where you look at another dude who's jacked as fuck, he looks amazing, and then you start to feel insecure about yourself. Now, I agree with that. But here is where I draw the line. You choose to get on that platform. You choose who to follow. You choose what to let into your life. There has to be some modicum of personal responsibility and accountability for the way you feel. Because nobody can make you feel a certain way unless you allow it to. And by allowing it to, I mean you allow it into your life. Oh my God, I feel like I'm preaching right now, but I'm going to keep going with it. It feels good. My dick's moving with this. Okay, here we go. There has to be personal accountability and responsibility. So when Haugen comes out there and talks about the damage done to women via social media and the negativity, that is because you allow it into your life. I've told you before, if you feel like I am not feeding you something that is going to help you grow in a certain way, then you should unfollow me. I had one guy that messaged me like a month or two ago. He said, hey, man, I just want to let you know I've followed you for a long time, but I have to unfollow you. I feel like I just need to get away from all this political negativity, yada, yada. And I told him, I responded back, I was like, hey, man, I have no hard will or hard feelings towards you and no ill will. I fully respect that. Do what you need to do to fix you, to work on you. And trust me, like a lot of you, I think, probably don't realize coming in here day after day and looking at all the news, all the negativity, all the political discourse, it is damning to the soul. It is damning to the soul. That's why I go to the gym. That's probably why I jerk off way too much. Probably drink a little too. No, I'm playing. I don't drink that much at all. I do jerk off way too much, though. I'll admit that. But the point being, though, is what you allow into your life is your personal choice. And once again, we see this mindset embraced by Democrats and Haugen, basically saying that, well, Facebook is causing this. They should be held accountable. It's like, well, to an extent, no. That's your fault. Because that will always exist. That's human. That's humanity. That's the human will. That's the human condition. So what you follow is what you allow into your life. You have no one else to blame for that. So why should somebody else be blamed for creating false expectations and then yet you allow it to influence you in your life? Why can you blame that person? That person's just putting out there, they're probably confused. They're probably going through their own hard time. They probably have their own insecurities. But by you trying to put blame on them for influencing you, you're the one that allowed it. You're the one that allowed that. And nobody can put you in a bad mood except you. What environment are you creating for yourself? And I think ultimately, deep down, many people don't want to take personal accountability because they're so mentally weak that they can't shut it off. Ladies and gentlemen, there is an addiction. There is an addiction on social media. Don't get it twisted. It's addicting. The levels of validity that you can draw from certain amounts of likes, certain comments, it is very addicting. Trust me, I've been there. I've seen it. I know. Social media has become so prominent in our lives that even when Facebook was down for the time, it almost felt like we were just lost. Like, oh my God, we're voyaging into the unknown. What exists beyond? And it was nice. It was nice. It was like this catch-22. It's like, fuck, I hope Facebook doesn't come back. It's like, but shit, that's going to hurt my business. Like, I need social media. So as a result, it's like, okay, now how do we transition away from that? How do we sustain our ability to survive? How do we sustain our business's survivability without the use of social media? What do we do to fix this? Because I really feel that eventually social media is going to become so insanely toxic. I mean, it's pretty much already damn near like to the point of like such levels of high toxicity that so many people are deleting it left and right. And I don't blame people. I don't blame people for unfollowing me. I mean, fuck, there's probably times in my life where I would unfollow me too. It's like, damn, there's just so much negativity. And here's the other fucked up part. And I will attest to this. She says, but the sites rely on negative interactions to drive engagement. That is not Facebook's fault. That's the human condition. I can't tell you how many times you go. Here's a little social experiment, ladies and gentlemen. Go back to a post I'll make on any Instagram that's positive in nature and see the amount of comments and likes. And then go look at a post on my political account on Sergeant Savage 1776 and go look at the comments and likes on that and the drive behind it. That's the human condition. How can you blame a platform for people utilizing the human condition to drive engagement? Facebook's not stupid. That's human nature. We respond to negativity because I think that reflects a lot of personalities out there versus those that are looking for positivity. And I think those are far more few and far between than those that are driven by negativity. And I'm one of those people, I'll admit to you, that the negativity is one of those things that makes me very passionate and drives me. But there's very few positive things out there that I'll see that motivates me to go even further. That's just an admission of the truth and honesty of what's inside me that I've tried to change. But I won't blame Facebook or Instagram for that. That's me. That's a John Burke issue. That's personal accountability. And you've got to have that in your life. Greenwald agrees that companies such as Facebook and Google are grave menaces, but no. And okay, let me go even a little step further. And I'm sorry for bouncing around on this, but where I feel this is very dangerous territory is that Facebook and Instagram are going to be turning into the morality police. And I think that's a very, very dangerous road to go down. And what I mean by that is move politics aside. We even see like conservatives on the right that are hardcore Christians and conservatives, and there's nothing wrong with that. Please don't take it this way. But there are so many out there that don't like what some people post because it goes against their religious beliefs, their morals, their values, and things such as that. And I feel like people want to utilize censorship as a means of regulating morality. And you don't want that. You don't want that. Because it's the same thing in regards to free speech versus hate speech. There's no such thing as hate speech. And people don't seem to understand that. It's like, well, when somebody says something hateful, yeah, I'm saying that's a very hateful comment. But one man's trash is another man's treasure. One man's religion is another man's hate speech. What gives you the right to put a definition on what somebody says and determine whether it be hate speech or not? Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, meaning that each person is different in how they view the world or they view a human being. But to sit there and try and say that we should censor those that don't morally fall in line with our beliefs and values, well, then how far are we going to take that? Who dictates this? Who controls this narrative? Who determines where this train is going? Because if you want to consider that, look at the left that you've had the promotion and acceptance of child drag shows, of drag queen story hour. Where does it stop? Like, whose morals are we going by here? Or should we leave it up to the individual to live their life as they see fit with no moral policing? And that's also why I'm not in favor of church and state being the same. This is a very, very dangerous road to go down. And people don't see this. And this is on both sides. This isn't just on the left. I think it's primarily dominant on the left. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. But I see it on the right in regards to religious values being trying to be enforced on the people. To me, it's live and let live, to a degree. To a degree. Leave the children alone and respect personal freedoms. That's all I want. Just leave me the fuck alone. Greenwald agrees that companies such as Facebook and Google are grave menaces, but noted that platforms such as cable news and fashion magazines also spread misinformation, cause body image obsessions among young girls, and push polarizing political content. Yes, they do. But who's posting this? Facebook is the platform. Now, who they magnify is based upon dollar spend. And naturally, they've came out and they talked about that essentially celebrities and the high-profile political figures don't adhere to the same rules as everybody else on social media. They've admitted that. They kind of like take it to where they don't take them as serious. They don't slap them on the wrist as hard as they do normal people. I go on there and I make a post saying, in response to somebody talking about airsoft, say, yeah, be careful, I'll shoot your pinky finger off, and I get banned for 30 days. You got Snoop Dogg out there calling people coons and shit like that. He's fine. Nothing happens. Maybe because he's black and liberal. Because progressives won't touch that. So, and I'm not trying to dive into that realm. We've already seen this. This is common. It's not anything new. We've seen this so many different times out there. But when we try and regulate morality, you can't do that. You should never be allowed to do that. He also noted social media companies have censored news that could have been harmful to then candidates Joe Biden and united and effectively removed former President Donald Trump from the internet. Again, this is just the hypocrisy of these social media platforms. Now, you have the Taliban that have their accounts. The Taliban that have social media accounts, known Taliban figures. The Taliban itself has a social media account, and they troll, actually, which is kind of funny. But they're allowed on social media. The very same group that is responsible for the murdering of homosexuals, of the oppression of the female species, of the atrocities and human rights violations, they are allowed a platform, ladies and gentlemen, but Donald Trump is not. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not like a Donald Trump loyalist. I think Trump said some really stupid shit. I think he did some really good things. But the comparison, the juxtaposition of the Taliban versus Donald Trump is insanity to me. That right now Twitter allows this, but they don't allow Donald Trump. You allow a terrorist organization that has murdered Americans, murdered their own people, to have social media accounts, but Donald Trump doesn't. And this is what happens when you try and regulate morality. Because who is calling the shots? Jack Dorsey, Twitter CEO. He's the one calling the shots. And then you have an unbalanced social media network to where you're favoriting literally known world-renowned terrorist organizations or the 45th president of the United States of America because you just didn't like what he said and he had mean tweets. Somebody had mean tweets and other people are literally killing American soldiers and Marines. This is what happens when you regulate morality. This is what happens. Haugen has been the media's hero, heroine du jour, according to Greenwald. But the independent journalist doesn't think the fawning over her has anything to do with the genuine dangers facing the nation. Let me step back a little bit. And this is for the parents out there. These are the parents of children that are listening to this podcast. Look, these beauty magazines, the Facebook exposure of unrealistic beauty expectations, fitness, all this stuff. If you're a parent, you shouldn't be allowing your children on that. I had somebody DM me saying, I love listening to your podcast with my 12-year-old daughter. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, I would never let my children listen to this podcast. Why are you letting your child do that? I cuss like a sailor, and I'm not going to stop. That's just how I am. I've accepted that fact about myself. Why are you letting your children be exposed to this? There's only so much blame you can put on the outside world. And there's so much blame that you should accept as a parent saying, I let that into my child's life. I allowed that into my home. That's my responsibility. That's my fault. When I grew up, my mother was insanely religious. I shouldn't say insane, excuse me. She was just very religious. We grew up very, very religious. The only things allowed in our home were like PG movies. She would now allow us to watch PG-13, rated R. Never. Never. She controlled the environment as a single mom. She accepted that responsibility. So there was no blame to go around if I did something out of the normal, out of the ordinary. I was a young boy. I mean, that's just how we are. But that was her role as a parent. And I feel like in our generation, people forget the role and importance of a parent and what your responsibilities are to your children. You are the protector. You are the guider. You are the one that puts the shields over their eyes when they shouldn't be exposed to certain things like critical race theory and all this transgender progressivism. It's insanity. Or the just insanity that we see rampant out there. It's your job as a parent to regulate. And here's the other thing. If you're a parent that wants to expose your child to that, that's your right. I think it's child abuse. I think that you're twisting your child's mind and warping it. But that's where you as parents have to step up. And you can't blame outside factors. And the other part of it is, if a magazine wants to publish something, that's freedom of speech. So these unrealistic beauty expectations and things such as that. And here's the other thing. Nobody hates women more than other women. The unrealistic beauty expectations that I feel have occurred in our society were brought on by women. Now, they were doing it with the intent of pleasing men, don't get me wrong, but nobody forced you to do it. If I have a woman that says, hey, John, I would find you way more attractive if you were fatter. Like, no. I'm going to get myself away from you, and I'm not going to change myself for you. It feels to me in our society, we have pandered to the mentally weak so much that we now have to censor ourselves from the fear of offending somebody. And I'll give you a great example. In the veteran world, it's the fucking worst. It's the fucking worst. Now listen to what I'm about to tell you. In the veteran world, when you serve in the military, the jokes we told were racist as fuck, sexist as fuck. It would be shit that would make a sailor blush. And that was the environment. And it actually wasn't a racist environment. It was that we could be real and honest with one another. And it built up those mental strengths. I remember when I was a young private being stationed in Baumholder, Germany back in 2002. And the first time I met my first E4 team leader, he was a white dude. He was an Italian white dude from New York. I'll never forget this guy. And he was short, little chubby, and he had a fucking attitude. Like, don't cross this guy. He's your leader. You do what he fucking tells you. And then the other team leader was a black dude. And they would literally call each other racial names in front of the Joes. Italian dude would call him an N-word. The black dude would call him a freaking Italian slur. And I was just kind of like, whoa. But nobody took it seriously. And it was like a term of endearment. It was a term of love that you could be that fucking raw with each other and know that if push came to shove, I would kill for you and I would die for you. And so you take that type of, and Let me just move on with the point, though. We had that type of camaraderie in the veteran community. And then we could make jokes about suicide. We could make jokes about literally everything. The dark humor, the dead baby jokes, the rape jokes, shit like that. That was a form of conditioning ourselves to be mentally stronger. It was a form of adapting. Now, some people can say that's a very unhealthy way of doing it, and I kind of see that point. I realize that as time has gone on. But I'm telling you right now, in the veteran community, now you can't say certain things. Oh, well, what if you say something, John, that makes a veteran kill himself? That's not my fault. You chose to do it. I'm speaking my mind. I'm putting my opinions out there. And if it causes you to go put a bullet in your head, that's not my fault. You chose to do that. But veterans will rally around that saying, oh, it's such a horrible thing, and it's John's fault. And that's the most annoying fucking thing I've seen out there. We instead of like putting personal accountability and responsibility on the individual, we try and blame other people and say, you shouldn't say that. It should be regulated. You shouldn't act like that. It should be changed. This is the problem. This is the problem. In the veteran community, I'm kind of appalled right now that so many will come out and say, you shouldn't say these mean things. You can cause somebody to kill themselves. Not 5 years ago, you were telling dead baby jokes. What happened? We got weak. We got soft. We pandered to the few and far between that are mentally weak, not just in the veteran community. And this is a result of that, ladies and gentlemen. This is a result. Our society now panders to the single percentile that is mentally weak. And instead of trying to say, you need to toughen the fuck up, we now bring ourselves down to their level, and our society has grown weaker as a result of it. Called this years ago. And you're seeing it finally. I feel like I'm John the Baptist preaching in the social media wilderness saying, I said this years ago. I said it years ago. Now maybe they're listening. Or maybe it's too late. I don't know. Greenwald agrees that companies such as Facebook and Google are grave menaces, but noted that platforms such as cable news and fashion magazines also spread misinformation, cause body image obsessions if you let it. If you let it. Among young girls, and push polarizing political content among young girls. Why are you parents letting them read this shit? Why are you not in their ears saying and building that self-confidence? Why are you not there doing that? Halligan has been the media's, okay. Congress has taken no steps to curb the influence of these Silicon Valley giants. Even when we had the majority in Congress, nothing happened. So now Ted Cruz goes out there and he's got to grill Mark Zuckerberg. And everybody's like, oh my God, let's clap. Let's clap. It's such a wonderful thing. And Zuckerberg just sit there like his little lizard face, like, oh, Senator, I don't know. And everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, we fucking own the libs, but nothing changes. Nothing changed when we had the majority, and nothing is sure as fuck going to change right now. And if it does change, it's going to change for the worse because Democrats going to try and take control. That's the problem. Congress has taken no steps to curb the influence of these Silicon Valley giants because Facebook and Google drown the establishment wings of both parties with enormous amounts of cash and pay well-connected lobbyists who are friends and former colleagues of key lawmakers to use their DC influence to block reform, Greenwald wrote. With the exception of a few stalwarts, neither party's ruling wing really has any objection to this monopolistic power as long as it is exercised to advance their own interests. I agree with that. Because I think you're going to see a shift in the economic and political paradigm. I'm seeing it now on Twitter. And by the way, I had to unfollow a lot of Republican influencers like Benny Hinn and the rest of them. Dude, when Biden came out and the senator out of Arizona, the bisexual Arizona senator, was harassed in the bathroom, instantly, like, I watched Biden's response to this. I am not a fan of Joe Biden. In fact, fuck Joe Biden. But this is where we're at right now. Biden was asked about how he felt about these protesters harassing this Arizona senator. And Biden clearly said it's unacceptable. He didn't condone it. But then later on, he talked about it's part of the process, though. And these Republican influencers, these turning point cronies, jumped all over this and twisted it with the intent to basically project Biden in a negative fashion where he condoned this behavior. Biden clearly said it was not appropriate. What else do you want him to say? They did the same thing to Trump and you Republicans hated it, and now you're doing the same fucking thing to Biden. So you hypocrites need to come clean with this bullshit and stop this. It's a political ploy to try and divide people on the wrong issues. Biden said he didn't agree with it, but then he said it's part of the process. And if these political influencers that are so fucking smart, that are so intelligent, they dress in their nice fucking suits, they go on their podcasts, and they pander to the Christian Bible-thumping conservatives, the boomers, and you sit there and say, oh, it's all part of the process. Right, Biden? It's all part. Yes, it's part of the process. When a bill gets introduced and somebody stands against it as a representative, there is going to be protests. That's part of the process. He's not condoning it, and I can't believe I find myself in a position where I'm actually defending Biden. But Jesus Christ. You fucking Republicans are even worse than liberals sometimes. You sit there. At least liberals are consistent in their hypocrisy, and you can count on them to be hypocrites. But you Republicans, you shift focus so fucking much, I can't even keep track of you. It's sad to see this. It's all part of the process. That's not what he said. You're taking that out of context. You're using that. You're taking that one little thing, like what they did with Trump, with the x-rays and injecting bleach into the system. If you've actually watched the fucking clip, that's not what he meant. But you're doing the same thing to Biden. So when Democrats do it to you, you have no right to be upset. You have no right. All you're doing is playing their game, and you're making yourself just like them. Just like them. At least stand for truth when it's needed. But Jesus Christ. Like all these like Jack Publisek, unfollowed, done, fucking done. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. You either stand for truth or you don't. People say we need to beat them at their own game. Well, then you become just like them, and then the truth is dead. Trust me, I get it, ladies and gentlemen. I get it. When people say beat them at their own game. But this is what happens. You have to have a side that stands for truth, that stands for justice, that stands for what's right. Because if that side decides to lower itself and play that Democratic game, and don't get it twisted, I believe that we should push back harder. But I believe that we can do the same thing while still utilizing truth and justice, not sinking to the level of resorting to misinformation and intentional deceit. Because the only thing that happens is the truth dies, and then nobody knows what to believe. You've got to have one side that remains truthful and honest, because that side will serve as a beacon to the other opposing side saying, hey, regardless of what's going on, we will always stand for the truth. So come to our side. And more people are starting to see it. If anything right now, these Republicans should double down on being as truthful as they possibly can. Because with the Democratic side folding right now, with there being so much panic and disinformation on the left, and you're seeing the true authoritarian movement come out, the true fascism, the true racism being exposed on the left, now more than ever, Democrats are looking at the right saying, I never saw him do it that much. Maybe I should take that into consideration. But instead, if the right folds and crumbles and becomes the left, what happens? What happens, ladies and gentlemen? Grunwald noted that Halligan is being guided by a longtime Obama operative, and she has clearly indicated that her beef with Facebook is over its refusal to remove content she regards as hate, violence, and misinformation, which coincides with the left's agenda. Yeah, 100%. Hate violence or hate, like misinformation. What misinformation? That's my question. You say misinformation. What misinformation? Opinions? Are we talking about opinions here? Are opinions classified as misinformation? Like, there's no clarity here. And there is one good thing that I think people are starting to wake up to, and that's the fact that you should not trust anybody. And ladies and gentlemen, when you DM me and you say, John, I go to you to get my news, I go to you to get my facts, you are already wrong. You are already wrong. You should not trust me. You should second check and second guess every fucking thing I say for yourself. Think for yourself. Do not rely upon one single news organization or individual out there to feed you the truth. I've said it from day one. I am an opinion podcast. This is not something that is rooted as like, everything I say is 100%. Sometimes I get it wrong, and you should second guess me. You should second guess every single network out there. We live in the age of so much misinformation, intentional misinformation, that is passed off as factual news, and therein is the difference. There's a difference in saying this is an op-ed piece, this is an opinion podcast, this is me just weighing in my opinion on shit, versus saying this is the news, this is the facts, but let me put a little political spin on it to try and twist your mind just a hair to influence you into voting a certain way. And therein lies the difference. It wouldn't really be difficult right now. It wouldn't really be a difficult thing right now to launch a new news organization and report just the facts with no political bias. I thought about doing it, but I'm so far delved into the political rabbit hole, nobody would ever believe me. They would always say Burke has a biased opinion that he's trying to push forward. But think about it. What if you had a Walter Cronkite right now saying today in New Jersey, 3 blah, 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 over blah, 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 and just news, just factual news, and that's it. It would be highly successful. No political bias, no halo effect, no negative or positive association bias, no intent, just the news. Maybe I will do it. Maybe we'll start up Jackrabbit Media. We were talking about it. About a news site, a news organization that reports just the facts. Just the facts, that's it. And there would be no op-ed opinion pieces. I don't know. I'll consider it. Agitating for more online censorship has been a leading priority for Democratic Party ever since they blamed social media platforms for the 2016 defeat of the rightful heir to the White House throne, Hillary Clinton, he wrote. This craving for censorship has been elevated into an even more urgent priority for their corporate media allies due to the same belief that Facebook helped elect Trump, but also because free speech, on social media prevents them from maintaining a stranglehold on the flow of information by allowing ordinary uncredentialed serfs to challenge, question, dispute their decrees, or build a large audience that they can control. Greenwald then detailed Democrats who have urged tech giants to censor more political speech in the past and provided a survey indicating Democrats support internet censorship. Of course they do. Of course they do. This is not a hidden thing anymore. You have the ex-governor of California, Schwarzenegger, screw your freedom. Yes, they are openly in admission of this. Why would I be friends with somebody like that? Why would I tolerate somebody like that? Why would we allow them to be a fucking citizen when they are in favor of supporting the essential censoring and the eliminating of dissenting voices or opposing political voices? Why would you ever want to coincide with that? On either side, ladies and gentlemen, on either side, if Republicans took that position, I would be against them tenfold. It should never be tolerated. To tolerate those, here's the difference, and this is where people don't realize. When you sit there and you say you should be more tolerant, I made a post about this woman that basically, Ron DeSantis' wife, I believe, was diagnosed with breast cancer. And essentially, Democrats, as I knew they would, and Republicans do this too, let's not get it twisted, come out and basically say, oh, good, she deserved it. Good, she deserved it. Wow, okay. Why am I going to be tolerant of somebody like you? You wish death on me? Why the fuck do I care about you? I'm not taking the high road on that. I'm not. And I know the outcome of that is that we're going to have just more polarization of both sides. But the more that we've been tolerant and accepting of this bullshit, it's only grown in numbers. It's only grown in strength. Now there's outright calls for censorship and the silencing of those that disagree with the mainstream leftist narrative. And here's why. Let's get into this next one. CNN's Don Lemon calls on big tech to regulate people's posts, and they are openly outright fascists. So to you liberals out there that I have debated in the past that you've come at me sideways, fascism is a right-wing term, and no, it's progressed. Now it's a leftist thing. It's a leftist thing. Fascism is a Democrat principle at this point. And it's funny how it's akin to socialism, which leads to communism. Silence them. Take their weapons, promote socialism, and make the people servants of the government. This is where we're at. CNN's Don Lemon calls on big tech to regulate people's posts, opinions, and have them face consequences. If you say something that is not true, then you should be able to face the consequences for it, Lemon said. What's not true and what is true? What are we talking about here, Lemon? What are we talking about here? What gives you the right to determine whether somebody should face consequences or not? And guess what? Those things do exist. It's called libel. It's called slander. And if you take it to that point, you can be sued for it. It does exist. But you want it to the point where if anybody says anything that you personally don't agree with, you want them silenced. Now, tell me this. Why should I be tolerant? Why should I not wish death on someone like you? Why not? You are for the individual stripping away of human rights, rights that our forefathers fought and died and bled for. What gives you the right? We have an enemy in our midst. These people exist, and they're calling for it. Why would I ever want to coexist with you? You're not for freedom. You're for the exact opposite. Under the guise of protecting the truth and people's feelings. CNN host Don Lemon repeatedly called on social media companies to start regulating the opinions and posts of its users Tuesday, declaring that there should be consequences for those who post untrue information on any platform and the true identities of users should be known. Wow. Morality police. I called it. This is what you get. Don't cross the kings, ladies and gentlemen. Don't cross the social media kings. Don't cross the rich elites. Don't cross the gay black man up there, because if you do, then you're a homophobic racist. That's what they utilize. Before, it was terms like racist, misogynistic, xenophobic that they tried to demonize us with. And it failed. It turned into, at first we're like, I'm not racist. I'm not any of that. And then it turned into like, okay, whatever, dude. Like we stopped listening to you. And now it's full on censorship and fascism. During the handoff between their respective shows, Lemon told CNN's Chris Cuomo, oh, and by the way, Don Lemon, this is also another beautiful thing right here. You want to talk about people shouldn't be allowed to post things that are not truthful? What about your lack of coverage of your little butt buddy Chris Cuomo's sexual scandal back in 2015? Why is there no coverage of Cuomo up in New York and his sexual harassment scandal? Why is there none of that? That's what I want to know. You want to talk about unbiased, truthful, journalistic integrity? You have none of it. So by according to your own logical reasoning, you should be taken off the air and banned from social media because you failed to address something that was so mainstream because it went against your political party. Do not tell me that you are being truthful. Do not tell me that you are sitting there saying that I have my journalistic integrity at heart here and I just want to report the facts. Bullshit. Bullshit. Your silence is deafening. So you sit there and you spew your false altruistic bullshit and call for more censorship of social media. I don't even think Democrats should be censored. Don Lemon's bullshit speech should never be censored. In fact, I encourage more of it. Highlight and magnify what these people are. Don't censor this. Let people see Nazis for being Nazis. Let people see fascists and socialists like AOC and Lemon for what they are. Do not censor it. Magnify it. Let the people see. Both sides get that. Both sides get that. Let the people wake up to the realities of what these human beings are and promoting and pushing. You need that. During the handoff between the respective shows, Lemon told CNN Chris Cuomo that regardless of whether or not someone was expressing an opinion on social media, anything anyone posts should be based in fact. Oh my God. Just listen to this. Anything anyone posts should be based in fact. This is a characteristic of the rich elites like this, ladies and gentlemen, like Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo. This is the mindset of them that they are so above you that they should be able to regulate and dictate what you say. Forget politics. Look at the financial status of these two people that feel that they are above the common man. And ladies and Democrats, liberals, that if you're listening, this should scare you. This should scare the shit out of you. Because while that sword is swinging in the direction of conservatives that you're in support of, if you go against Mein Führer, that sword will come back on you. In the moment that you disagree with the narrative, the MSM leftist agenda, they will ostracize and excommunicate you, just like the senator from Arizona. Don't talk to me about tolerance and diversity of thought on the left. Don't talk to me about diversity of thought and tolerance on the right. I don't see it. The idea that somebody inside of them possesses this mindset that they should be able to regulate what it is that you say on social media. Oh my God. Imagine if this was pushed for through legislation and Don Lemon would support it, not just on social media, but in public. And that man deserves to be killed. Oh, powerful statement, I know. But if you really think about it, these are the enemies of freedom. This has gone beyond political sides. This has gone into the outright calling and the stripping away of the human rights this country was founded upon. Why would we ever be tolerant of that? I'll end with this, and this is a start of the social media companies. And this is a start for the social media companies. What is put on your platform, at the very least, should be true. Let's start there, Lemon said, to which Cuomo asked about users' opinions. It should be true. You can have opinions based in fact. That's why they're called opinions. Not all opinions are accurate, and people have the right to change their opinions when new evidence is presented. How dare you? The audacity to sit there and dictate how people should formulate their opinions and rationalize things? These are the thought police. Lemon said, beyond that, let's start at the base level, that baseline right there, and then we can go on with the rest of it. Oh, so that's not enough. Now we're going to compound this. Now we're going to add to it. We're going to add more of this. Interesting. You give them an inch, they will take a mile. We saw it with the Second Amendment. We saw it with so many other things out there. Lemon agreed with Cuomo that social media companies should know the identities of who uses their products, but added that people should also know the identities of who responds to them or says things about them on platforms. Ooh, I kind of agree with him on that one. I kind of agree with him. Like, no more fake accounts, no more troll accounts. Now you have an identity. Like, if you really think about that, people would be a lot less likely to say certain things on social media when their actual identity is confirmed. Racism goes away. All of these things go away because no more fakeness. Now you're exposed to the realness of it. So if someone says something about me, I should know that it's Joe Smith who lives in Wisconsin and shouldn't just be a bot, Lemon said. Earlier in the day, Lemon appeared on CNN's New Day and went a step further, calling for there to be consequences for people who posted untrue information. Let's take that a step further. Let's take that a step further. Think about that. Look at COVID. I'm just thinking out loud here. How much misinformation has been posted on both sides? How many times has Fauci changed his mind? What was once thought of to be true, then turned around and realized to be untrue. So, Don Lemon, my question to you is, when Fauci said that if you're vaccinated, you can't spread COVID, and then turned around and said, oh, yes, you can, should he face consequences? When Don Lemon reports something that's actually inaccurate and they have to come back and issue a retraction, should he face consequences? When that shoe drops and you have to put it on the other foot, suddenly opinions change, ladies and gentlemen. If we say something on this network that is not true, there are repercussions and ramifications, right? We face the consequences, Lemon said to anchors John Berman and Brianna Kiliar. If you do that on social media, there are no consequences. It's a wild, wild west. No, Don Lemon, you're twisting it right there. You're an opinion piece. You give your opinion. And your opinion is not always accurate. Because guess what? I have a different perspective and a different opinion that counters yours. So wherein lies the truth? Because opinions usually, for the most part, are just that. Opinions, biased thoughts, and beliefs. But he wants to regulate that. That should be regulated. That's a dangerous, slippery slope. No, I won't celebrate these people. I won't be tolerant of these people. I won't open my door to these people. I think they're disgusting. They should be expelled out of America. This isn't free speech anymore. I mean, technically it kind of is, but you're calling for those that say things you don't like to be silenced. That's not free speech. That's, in fact, the opposite. Why should that ever be tolerated? That should be met with the utmost violence and silenced. That's what our forefathers fought for and against. Why should we ever tolerate that? There are certain things that can be tolerated until you cross the line of trying to basically impede on somebody's individual freedoms. That's where the tolerance stops, and that's where the violence should begin. Moving on. Former Border Patrol Agent Chief Scott, Border Patrol morale is struggling due to process applies to everybody else but not them. Due process applies to everybody else, not them. It's almost as if we saw the same thing under the Obama administration with police. Isn't it interesting that these Democrat leaders essentially have ruined and demonized, I shouldn't say ruined, but have demonized those that actually enforce the law and those that protect our borders? The very same people they had no issues with in years past, in the 40-something years Biden has been in office, no issues. But now suddenly you do. Weird how that works. During a portion of an interview aired on Tuesday's broadcast of the Fox News Channel's special report, former Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott said the morale among Border Patrol agents is struggling and criticized President Joe Biden for taking the approach that due process applies to everybody else, but not Border Patrol agents. Host Breyer asked, what is the Border Patrol morale? Scott answered, it is struggling right now. It really is struggling right now. Obviously, this administration does not really support border security. After the discussion turned to Biden's denunciation of how Border Patrol agents on horseback treated migrants, Scott said, I was dumbfounded. To take a word from somebody else, I was outraged that all of a sudden due process goes out the window. Border security protects legal immigration, and those guys know it. And that's what they've been doing. And all of a sudden, now, due process applies to everybody else, but not them. And then, all of a sudden, our horse patrol, doing what they're supposed to do, which is prevented people from illegally entering our home, are now villains. These are politicians that are bending the knee to the social media outrage Roman mob. Talk about spineless, ballless elected leaders that don't have the fucking audacity that God gave a snake. We need men back in this country. We need men that are be willing to stand up in the face of a mob and say, go fuck yourself. You don't like me? I don't fucking care. Unless you feed, fuck, or finance me, why should I give a shit about you? You elected me in this position, I'm going to do my job. You don't like it, don't reelect me. That's why people love Trump so much. Trump actually had balls. These spineless politician cowards have none. They bend with the whims of the social media wind. It blows left one day, and now we're in favor of Border Patrol. It blows right the next day, and now we're demonizing Border Patrol. Which is it? And it all falls at the fault of generalization. Massive generalization. The demonization through generalization of large-scale large-scale people, entities, police, Border Patrol. God forbid you do the same thing towards minorities, and oh my God, now you're a racist. Oh, the police are racist. Okay, well, so are black people. Oh my God, that's racist. Like, wait a minute. Now, hold on. Your train of thought, that logic applies both ways, and suddenly when it claps back at you, you don't like it. Now you want to focus on individual things, and I agree with you, it should be. Hold the individual accountable. You don't judge the tree for the one screwed up acorn. Now, if there's a shitload of screwed up acorns, then you can look into investigating the tree. We have allowed stupid people on social media to sway the opinions of the masses. Stupid people should shut the fuck up. In our society, it used to be before social media, if you were stupid, nobody listened to you. And now you have stupid people on TikTok, these progressives. I am a cis pangender metrosexual that loves to fuck trees. And just like, you belong in an institution. All you are is an attention whore. You want recognition that your parents never gave you. You want to feel special. You're the genuine, authentic snowflakes of this generation. That's the only reason you're doing this. This is rooted in insanity. It's rooted in attention seeking. But we tolerate it. Now again, I'm for the freedom to express yourself. But don't you dare expect me to sit there and not say you're fucking retarded. You shouldn't be allowed to say that. Yes, the fuck I should, because you're acting retarded. You're acting insane. Why shouldn't you be called out for the actions you're displaying and the thoughts that you're conveying that are just rooted in insanity? A woman or a man cuts off his dick and gets a vagina sewn into him, and now he's a woman? Biologically, no, you're not. And the fact that we have people out there that are trying to debate this, what realm of insanity have we entered into? This is beyond me. Now, for me, where that line is, like, if you want to cut your dick off and turn your outie into an innie, do your thing. It's your body. The government should have no choice over that. And I support your right to do it. I don't agree with it, but that goes as far as I'm just not going to do it. I don't agree with two guys getting married, or I don't agree with having sex with other dudes, but the extent of that is I'm just not going to go out there and fuck another dude. But if you are, love who you want to love. Fuck who you want to fuck. As many times as you want. I don't give a shit. Not my part. But don't sit there and tell me that when it comes to transgenderism, that I should appreciate and normalize it and then also celebrate it. Absolutely not. I'm not going to celebrate your insanity. I'll support it because you have the right to be insane, I guess. We are such a backwards nation right now because we've given that minority vote, not minority, the minority percentile, not minorities in general, according to race, but the percentile of stupid people a voice, a large voice. And all these people, all these big name celebrities come in to show how altruistic and progressive and tolerant and wonderful human beings they are. Social media has turned into one big circle jerk of altruism. Who can be the most altruistic? Oh my God, like Lady Gaga out there, like, be yourself, speak your truth. It's mind-blowing to me. Once again, we see Democrats now trying to change the rules. Democrats are serious about potentially changing Senate filibuster rules to avoid default. I love how they're using this. It's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. Guys, hey. Instead of defaulting on these payments, we should probably change the rules of the filibuster so that this doesn't happen. When in reality, they're trying to change that filibuster because that filibuster rule is the last thing standing between Democrats being able to control everything and Republicans like backing or fighting back through filibuster tactics. That's why they want to change it. That's exactly why they want to change it. Once again, changing the rules of the game. Where have we seen this before? Democrats don't call it out because it's for a good cause. It's for a good reason. No. We need this because it's good for you. You need this because it's good for you. We should change the rules. What need do we have of Congress? What if we just had a good king to lead us? A good dictator that had your best interests at heart? Let's change the rules because it benefits all of us. Bullshit. The country, and this comes to us from CNN. Go figure. Clinton News Network. Misinformation and propaganda 101. Look, I know Fox does it, but CNN, it's gotten to the point where I can't even go on CNN. There's so much misinformation. That is rooted in fact, Don Lemon. That is rooted in fact, supposed fact, excuse me. The country is on the precipice of a financial calamity, and Democrats are on the verge of potentially altering the contours of the Senate with a potential one-time rules change that would enable them to pass a debt ceiling increase well ahead of the October 18th deadline. Nope, I'm not in favor of it. Guess what, Congress? You better do your fucking job. You better do your fucking job that you were elected to do. The people are tired of it. You better figure that shit out. Lock them all up in a room and say, until you figure this shit out, you don't go home. And guess what? Your pay is halted. This is where both parties should be uniting and saying this needs to get figured the fuck out. It's a strategy that Democratic leaders don't think for a second this one-time rule would only be used one time, because as soon as you cross that line, boom, you're done. You've compromised it, and it'll never go back to the same. I am telling you, from having led men for years, you cross that line one time and you're forever compromised. You cannot. Rules are there. The law is there for a reason, and it must be respected. As soon as you cast aside the law, you have chaos. You have anarchy. You have no system of governing. Well, hey, remember that one time back in 2020 that we kind of went away with the filibuster? What if we just did that again? Yeah, we did it once already. The whataboutisms would be through the fucking roof. It's a strategy that Democratic leaders have been socializing since last week in the caucus. But the idea got a serious boost on Tuesday night when President Joe Biden said it's a real possibility the Democrats would establish a carve-out of the filibuster rules that, like, dude, I'm telling you, this right here is so fucking dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. If they do this, they have essentially ignored law and say we're creating our own rules now because we have the majority. That is so fucking dangerous. If this occurs, oh my God. It's insane. It's insane that these people feel that they no longer have to respect the Constitution and how it's outlined and how our Congress is supposed to operate. Now they no longer care. The Constitution is nothing to them. The rule of law is nothing to them. They disrespect the rules. They try and alter and change it to appease their narrative. Now the game is not fair. And you sit there, and Democrats have the audacity to sit there and wonder why so many on the right feel this election was rigged. By virtue of your actions and your casting aside of law and the rule of law, why the fuck would I ever trust you when it came to a fair and balanced election? Why? If you're so willing to undermine law that's already been previously established and is outlined in our Constitution, why would I trust you as far as like being honest about an election? You changed the laws for this. Why wouldn't you change? And that's why they also don't want stricter voter ID laws. That's exactly why. Don't tell me to trust you. I don't trust you as far as I can fucking throw you. Remember a long time ago, I told you when the TAPS Act was being discussed by Crenshaw and the rest of them. And Austin Peterson had said something that really resonated with me. He said, when it comes to the creation of new government entities and programs for the sake of securing the people, he's like, how would you feel if that agency was being governed and dictated to by the opposing political class? Instantly, I said, no, I wouldn't be in favor of that. And so then why should it exist? It's a good point. It's a good point. Azra Nomini says, feds have declared a war on parents. FBI probe is unconscionable. DOJ taps FBI to probe threats against school board members. Virginia mother and parents defending education member Azra Nomi spoke with Fox and Friends on Wednesday to react to the Department of the DOJ tapping the FBI to look into potential threats from parents against school board members. Really? This is what you're using the FBI for? This is what our tax money is paying for? Threats against school board members? Are you fucking serious? Isn't that like a local jurisdiction issue? But instead our FBI is... Dude, abolish the FBI. The FBI was already shown to be targeting the Trump administration during the 2016 election. It was proven. The FBI does a lot of good. Nope. Don't want them. Fuck the ATF. Fuck the FBI. Fuck the IRS. We didn't need them before. Why do we have them now? Because they've been weaponized politically. And once we've hit that level, ladies and gentlemen, you know who created the FBI? Just off the top of my head, do y'all know who created the FBI and the history behind it? And this is the problem that we have in America. You don't know the history. And I'm at fault here too. Like, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm at fault too until I actually research this. Who created the FBI? And Democrats, I'm about to blow your fucking minds. I'm waiting. I'm waiting in the chat. Give me a name. Boom. They got it. Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover. You know what Hoover did? You know what Hoover did? Hoover utilized the FBI to go after Martin Luther King during the civil rights movement by painting him to be a communist. Weaponizing the FBI to go after somebody they politically did not agree with. A man, Martin Luther King, who was going out there protesting for equality of the black man in America, the black woman in America. Hoover, a white man, weaponized the FBI to go after him, to attempt to assassinate his character and arrest him. Wow, suddenly opinions changed a little bit, huh? They spied. And you sit there and you turn around and support these government. Do you really think that back during that day of the emergence of the FBI, that even now, they're not being politically propagated to go after certain people and parties? You must have your head in the sand. We don't need these people. The creation of these government entity programs, and again, Milton Friedman said this best, the intent is good. The intent is wonderful, but it's the outcomes we should be focused on. So if the outcomes are that we have a a government agency, a law enforcement agency that has been weaponized politically, then that agency should be abolished, which it has been. It's been shown numerous fucking times. The FBI was founded in a state of McCarthyism, that if you went against the political drive, if you went for civil rights, if you went for the rights of black American men and women, oh my God, you should be demonized. You still with me? Did I lose you? You still with me? You following? You tracking? Is your mind opening now? Are you waking up to see that America is not? And this is one of those things, this is one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with as a veteran of this country, to see how not free we are and how we've lied to ourselves for so many fucking years. Land of the free. We are not the land of the free. We are so far from it, and it's insane that we don't see this. It's insane that we don't see this. Think about the IRS. Hey, you have to pay us taxes. How much do I have to pay? We don't know. You got to figure that out. Okay, well, what happens if I get it wrong? Oh, you go to jail. What? What sense does that make? Hey, you have to go to the government to request a marriage license to marry somebody else, or you have to request a divorce. And by the way, you got to wait 6 months to a year or 2 years, depending on where you're at. What gives you the right to dictate to me what I can and cannot do within the realm of responsibility and common sense? What gives you the right? And people in the chat are saying that's not why the FBI was created. It doesn't matter why they were created. It's what they were used for. I just literally covered that. You're not listening. You're not listening. What did I say about Milton Friedman? The intent behind the creation of the FBI was probably noble, but what it was utilized for was the exact opposite. Therefore, it should go away and should never have been created. We don't need more government agencies. We don't need more government arms. We don't need this. It needs to go away. It needs less. It needs less. We were fine before it. DOJ tapping the FBI to look into potential threats from parents against school board members. The author and former Wall Street Journal columnist who wore a shirt that read, "I'm a mom, not a domestic terrorist," called it unconscionable that the National School Board Association to ask the FBI to get involved. Fuck me running. How's Normandy? It's outrageous what the federal government is doing now. We have parents right now waking up from sea to shining sea to bring their children to school, to urge them into the day. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why parents are fighting back on this, and it's justified, is they don't want their children involved in these echo chambers of the left. Every college campus, for the most part out there, is liberally controlled. It is an indoctrination place. God help you if you go into these areas and you don't come out a brainwashed, mindless fucking retard. Now schools, high schools and below are transformed. That's what they're doing. They are trying to educate your children into becoming liberals. And all I want is keep politics out of it. Teach them what they need to be thriving American citizens, to learn a skill, to be educated. Not necessarily tell you what to think, but how to think. But what to think? That's the problem. That's where we go. We can't just stop there. It's what to think. And what has happened now is that the federal government and the National School Board Association has declared a war on parents. All we have done over the past year is stand up and speak for our children. It's unconscionable that the Federal Bureau of Investigation should spend even a minute thinking about us. And I agree with that. Are you serious? The school board wants to declare these parents domestic terrorists because they don't want their tax money going to funding an organization or a group of people that want to teach critical race theory based on white guilt and white self-hatred. What the fuck does that have to do with anything in regards to being a functioning member of society? It has zero. That's a parent's responsibility. It is not your moral responsibility in a school to teach that bullshit because it's wrong. Then you got John Leguizamo, that fucking idiot, that clown, that douchebag that made it big in Hollywood, who talks about the new Mario movie. He's like, there's not enough, it's all white. Meanwhile, like, a few of the cast are, like, actually minorities themselves. It's like, oh, by the way, Leguizamo, you're a minority, and you played fucking Luigi in the movie. What the fuck are you talking about? And I'm for critical race theory because, these parents don't do the fuck they're talking about. Dude, I want to punch you in the fucking mouth so goddamn bad. Oh, just what a fucking idiot. He's critical. They don't even understand what critical race theory is. Oh, forgive me, Rich Elite. Please explain it to me. Please explain it to me because you're so grounded in reality that, you worry about where your next paycheck's coming from, where your next burger's coming from. Please. And yeah, that was a pretty damn good impersonation. I'm not going to lie. It's fucking John Leguizamo over here. It's what I'm talking about. We need more minorities out there. But you're a minority. You made it big. You did it. You were successful. What the fuck are you talking about? That's the same as Colin Kaepernick. Now he's got this new Netflix documentary out there. Like, Jesus Christ. Can we suck this dude's dick anymore, please? You were raised by white parents. What the fuck do you have to bitch about? I faced racism growing up. So the fuck did we all. I faced it in the Army. I had a black first sergeant that ruined my fucking career. God damn, get over this shit. You think you're the only one? You're not. You want to fight racism? Fine. But stop trying to, conflate these facts as if you're the only victim out there. You're a fucking millionaire that played in the NFL. Spare me. You're fucking crying. Because you know what? It made you stronger. Because at least Kaepernick had the balls to kneel for what he believed in. I'll give him that. But you think you would have came to that conclusion by having it weak your entire fucking life? I'm on one today. Maybe I had too much pre-workout in the gym. I don't know. But I'm just so fucking sick and tired of these leftist fascists calling for the censorship of everyday Americans that have every right to make their opinions heard. Joe Biden responds to fuck Joe Biden signs in Michigan. Oh, for those that don't know, there is a trend on the internet right now that's basically saying, let's go Brandon. And where that originated from, and I love the fact that I speak internet, and people, I love this. There was an interview with a NASCAR driver. I don't even watch NASCAR. I don't care about it. It's just a bunch of people driving in circles, I'm not knocking it. It's just not my thing. I'm not really a sports guy. I like going and doing shit. I don't like watching it. It's just not my thing. I'm not knocking it. I understand it. Trust me, I haven't really watched football since the dynasty of the Cowboys with Aikman, Irvin, Sanders, and the rest of the greats that I grew up on. After Jerry Jones butt-fucked that into eternity, I was like, I'm kind of done with this shit. This was a reporter that was interviewing a NASCAR driver who I think it just won. It was a young dude. And I think his name was Brandon. And the crowd in the background is seeing this interview going on. And this is a thing across all arenas around the country right now, that there seem to be these chants of fuck Joe Biden that are going viral. And it's in every sports arena. Football, NASCAR, all these things. You're seeing these chants go viral. And it's literally the crowd going, fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Joe. And it's going viral. So this reporter is interviewing this NASCAR driver. And the chant begins, fuck Joe Biden, da, 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 fuck. And she's like, and the reporter tries to spin this, and it is so pathetic. It is so pathetic. It reminds me of kind of like the World War II correspondents, while they're herding up Jews in the train cars, there's nothing going on here. They're just going for a little train trip. Nothing is out of the ordinary here. Just don't look behind the man in the curtain. That's what this was. And the woman says, oh, it sounds like they're saying, let's go Brandon. And, the NASCAR dude, kind of goes with it. But even he is hearing this saying, they're saying, fuck Joe Biden. So that's now a trend where people are saying, let's go Brandon, which ultimately translates to fuck Joe Biden. Because I guarantee they're going to censor the hashtag FJB and then fuck Joe Biden. And it's going to be, let's go Brandon. And I love internet culture sometimes because sometimes it works out so great. So fucking great. So that's the trend right now. So I posted on my Facebook this morning, like, who is this Brandon and where is he going? And some people are like, what are you talking about? It's like, okay, I need to educate you a little bit. That's where that came from. So fuck Joe Biden translates to let's go Brandon. Poor guy. Like, he's got his name forever associated with fuck Joe Biden. I mean, although I think that could be like kind of a trophy, I guess. I don't know. Joe Biden responds to fuck Joe Biden signs in Michigan. And he says, 81 million Americans voted for me. I don't believe that. To say that you're the most popular president in history, I don't believe that. President Joe Biden responded to supporters of former President Donald Trump who welcomed the president to Michigan with anti-Biden signs. Biden reacted to a crowd of Trump supporters who flew signs that read, fuck Joe Biden, Trump won, and even let's go Brandon, signed from the viral meme over the weekend. And there's a bunch of tweets showing Biden's cars pulling up, people with Trump flags, people saying fuck Biden. I think who was the band? Was it Slipknot? Oh man, I don't want to get this wrong. There was a very famous band recently, I want to say like a day or two ago, that in the middle of a concert, maybe it was an opening headliner for them, literally pulled out a flag on stage and said fuck Joe Biden. Ladies and gentlemen, and, essentially Biden's sitting there saying, well, I'm the most popular president. I had 81 million people vote for me. Like, Mr. President, you can continue flouting that supposed fact, but right now you have the lowest approval rating of your entire fucking career. The majority of Americans hate you. Like, less than 30-something% think you're even doing a damn good job. America hates you. They are standing in unison saying, fuck Joe Biden. Your administration is a catastrophe. But you want to sit there, and now he's going to try and rally that 30-something% that actually think he's doing a good job, and these people are mentally unhinged, and he's trying to rally with them and keep them in his corner. Because if he loses them, he's got nothing. It's amazing to me. Biden made a pointed remark in reaction to the signs reminding Trump supporters that he won the 2020 election. Okay, Mr. President, let's say that you did. You're in shambles right now. You got 13 service members killed. You drone strike 10 people, 7 of which were children, all of them innocent. That's how your administration started. And then the border crisis is only getting worse. The COVID issues are only getting worse because you're trying to mandate all these unconstitutional things out there. You are fucking this up royally. America is in flames. And you want to sit there and propagate yourself as the hero that defeated Trump. Meanwhile, Nero fiddles as Rome burns, and you take pride in it. Jesus Christ. He argued that Americans voted for him because they support his multi-trillion-dollar spending proposals, such as the massive entitlement spending bill currently stalled in Congress. No, Mr. President, I don't think they did. I don't think the majority of people even knew about it. I think they just wanted you because they didn't want Trump. No more mean tweets 2022 or 2020. Don't freaking prop yourself up like that. Jesus Christ. They voted for me because I'm going to unite America. And then he comes out and says, Republicans, either let Democrats fix this or get out of the way. Way to unite people, Biden. Way to unite them. Good job. Good job. Well done. Afterward, Biden claimed the signs only energized him. That's a lie. You're fucking lying again. You're one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel, and I can't wait till that one slips and you're gone. Biden claimed the signs only energized him when asked by reporters for his reaction. He says, I smile, Biden said. I give a little thumbs up. Mr. President, you are losing support. Like, you are hemorrhaging support. You get up there and you fumble your words to the point where you're showing yourself to be so mentally incapable of leading. We have an old man with dementia leading this country. Bastiat, that I debated on Twitch. Where are you? John, are you a doctor? Do you know? Are you sure? Do you know these medical conditions? I don't have to be a mechanic to know that my car is not working. He has the on-set signs. And those very same people that told people like music, you don't know what you're talking about because you're not a doctor. And now he's displaying those signs 10 times more. And where are you? Are you going to retract what you said? Are you going to apologize for what you said? Fuck no, you won't. Weird. Iranian state media promotes Kamala Harris applauding student accusing Israel of ethnic genocide. You know, when you're essentially being propagated in Iran as being one of theirs, that you're really on the wrong side. Like, I don't know how that could be perceived as like a good thing. Like when Iran is using your sound bites and your actions to promote anti-Semitism and their hatred of Jews, you're probably on the wrong fucking side. The social media account for Iranian state media Press TV promoted a clip of Vice President Kamala Harris applauding a student who accused Israel of ethnic genocide and expressed hurt at U.S.'s decision to fund the Iron Dome missile defense system. Press TV tweeted out a clip of the exchange from Tuesday of the vice president and a female student of Virginia's George Mason University during a Q&A session following an upcoming commemoration National Voter Registration Day. The student identified herself as a part Yemen, part Iranian, and not an American. And, you know, oh, God. You want to talk about the sense of entitlement of people? Like, I'm not an American. Well, then get the fuck out, bitch. Get the fuck out, cunt. You don't like it? Get the fuck out. I'm Iranian. No, you're a fucking American. And if you don't like it, leave. Fucking leave. I don't want you here. I don't want to share a country with you. If you don't want to be an American, that you think America is so bad, get your bitch ass back to Iran and take that shit with you and see how fucking far you make it, cunt. See how far you make it. How fucking dare you? Just the audacity of these people that have, like, you know what America needs? We need to be humbled the fuck down a lot. This is what a spoiled, entitled generation is what happens because you live in this safety bubble that is not based in reality. This is what happens. What our forefathers fought and died for, generations before us, this is the result. You've never had it hard. You have never had it difficult. And now it's clear as day. It's clear as fucking day. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, imagine that you're born in America, but you have roots from Iran and Yemen and places like that. But you're born here and you say, I'm not American. I'm this. Then fucking go over there, bitch. Go over there. Leave America. I'm not saying America doesn't have its problems. Oh, we clearly do. Don't get me wrong. But it's still one of the best fucking countries there is. Just for the simple fact that we're so goddamn spoiled. Why would I ever want to leave this place? Why? As many problems as we have, as many issues that we're fighting against, to sit there and try and paint it as if you're just such a noble person, that Iran is so much better, then go to Iran and see how far you make it. Feminists, where are you at? All you feminists in America that have it so fucking bad, all you progressive liberals that have it so... Why are you not over there? Marching in Afghanistan for women's rights, where they're literally being beaten in the streets and beheaded and stoned to death. Where are you at? Oh, it's because when you sit there and you say, I fight for equality, you don't fight for shit. You just march in the street and you meet no opposition. You just make your voice heard, which is what you're blessed to be able to do. Go do that in Afghanistan and see what happens. Don't sit there and tell me that we are such a horrible patriarchy rooted in white supremacy when you're out here protesting this shit. The very same thing that you think America is, and you meet no repercussions. But somebody comes back like me on social media and claps back, oh my God, I was attacked, and because of patriarchal white cis males. You know what you feminists really need? You need a good fuck. You just need to get fucked. That's all you need. You're one dick away from just becoming normal and like stop like chopping your bangs off to look like one of these weird celebrities. Somebody just needs to fuck these people. You need to get laid. That or get fed. And half of you are fat as fuck. So that's clearly not the issue. And maybe this is a compounding issue. Maybe it's because half of you fucking third wave campus feminists are so fat and disgusting that nobody's fucking you. And this is why that you're activists. You're so angry because nobody wants to stick their dick in you. Because you're fat and repulsive. Ah, shit, I fat shamed again. Whatever. Maybe that's why you got to be, yeah, exactly, in the chat. Thank you. A little dose of vitamin dick. That's what you need. And no, I don't mean rape. That's where you're going to take it. John Burke's condoning that we be raped. No, you just need to get fucked. But good luck finding a man who want to do that. That's what you need. You need an alpha male to spread those legs and fuck you like a man. Not these beta liberal bitches that probably cry after sex. Like, oh, was that too hard? No, you need a man to grab you by the back of the fucking hair and raw dog your ass. That's what you need. And people make a good point, though. We don't want them to breed. But maybe this could change them. That was complete satire for those who take it seriously. But yeah, I think you do need to get laid. Fuck. I need to get laid after this. I need to get laid after this. Oh my God. That concludes today's episode. I was on one today. I need Josh back to reel me back in from going over the edge of insanity. But I appreciate you tuning in today, ladies and gentlemen. Why should we ever be tolerant of those that would want to sit there and repeal back human rights that we have had our forefathers fight and die for and bleed for? Why should we ever be tolerant of these types of fascists? These types of anti-American, anti-freedom values. Why would I ever be tolerant? Why would I ever fellowship light and darkness? You have no being with them. You're not of them. Check us out at shellshockcbd.com, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you for all your support. I have turned Twitch to subscriber-only mode to keep the trolls out of the chat. If you disagree with me on Twitch, you are more than welcome to, as long as you do it respectfully. I have no problem with that. And some people did, and I respect that. I had one dude said that, he talked about the FBI, that I was off on that. He made a good point. I read it. I read your point. And he gave a good opposite side to it. So big thank you for that. I appreciate the dynamic of perspective. It's needed. But again, check out shellshockcbd.com. We just released the 40 count bags of CBD gummies and Delta 8 gummies. And Delta 8. So if you're not subject to a drug test and you need something that's going to help calm you down, it's going to help chill you out, we have CBD gummies and we have Delta 8 gummies. Delta 8 gummies will get you higher than pigeon tits. This is true. We have Rack Out CBD gummies. These are THC free. You have my word. You will not fail a drug test. These will help you sleep. If you don't believe me, if you're on Twitch right now, look at the chat. There's the proof. I don't think people are so loyal to me that they would lie in my own chat about products that I've stood behind for over almost 2 years now. I don't think they do that. And the majority of people, like Pashress says, I'm hitting the vape pen right now. These people, I don't pay them. They subscribe to my Twitch channel. They pay me. Why would they lie about this? So I appreciate all our lovers and supporters of Shell Shock CBD, the brand. I want to say thank you. We have the tankards for sale that you see on the front of my desk. We still have tankards. We still have pipes. You can check this out. It's on the website. Once again, that is shellshockcbd.com. If you enjoyed today's show, go over to iTunes and leave a review. A good review. It helps bump us up in the numbers. We are doing this on our own. We are not loyal to any political party, the DNC, the RNC, Turning Point, none of them. We do this on our own. We think for ourselves. So I appreciate your love and support. The views continue to grow. The numbers are growing every fucking day, and I'm so grateful. I am so grateful that y'all continue to support this channel. You support the stream. You support the business and the companies. You are what keeps these wheels moving, so I'm so incredibly grateful for you for tuning in and sharing this with your friends and your loved ones, even for your disagreements and things such as that. I'm thankful for that. So you guys have a wonderful and amazing day, and I will see you bright and early right here tomorrow on 10 a.m. CST on the All American Savage Show.